Welcome to Conversations on the Coast, the Bay Area's premier author interview program. And today we're talking to somebody from far away on the phone from Florida. Whereabouts in Florida, Vince?
Actually, we're in Broward County, nestled almost equidistantly between Fort Lauderdale to the north and Miami to the south. We're in Miramar, Florida.
Wow. How's the weather?
Beautiful. All beautiful. 81 today, sunny, blue sky. Just beautiful.
The man with the weather report is Vincent J. Sachar, and we're talking to him because he's written a great thriller novel. It's called Nowhere Out, published by Devent Publishers. And we're talking to a gentleman who has got two big jobs. At least I think they're big. One, he's an attorney, and he has a passion for writing fiction, and he hasn't been able to resist that passion. He's already published two novels. Is that right?
That's correct, yes.
And the main character in the two novels is a decorated Navy SEAL, and your publicist says turned serial killer. What a nice fellow.
Well, yes, I wanted to write, Jim, about what if you have a good man, a patriot. Everything about him is good and positive, but you push him to the brink. And this is a man who, in essence, loses everything he's ever valued, everything he loves, and is betrayed. Betrayed by people within the very government he has fought for and risked his life for. And, he reaches that point of having no one he could turn to, nowhere where he could seek justice that he could trust. And so he takes it into his own hands.
And that part of his story, if you will, is the focus of your first novel called The
Yes.
Nowhere Man.
Correct.
And Mr. Taylor, I guess at the end of The Nowhere Man, I didn't read that book, has been disappeared. But now he's being asked to reveal himself. Why is that?
Well, actually, book 2, Nowhere Out, was my initial story. It was what I had in mind to begin with.
Oh, wow.
And as I was writing it, I had so much backstory. I thought, you know what? I'm going to reach back in. I'm going to pull out as much of the backstory as I can.
Good for you.
Put that in book 1, and then wait and lead over to book 2. But I wanted to write about a man who's hidden, secluded. He's got a dark past. There's something about him. There are things he's done that are not good things, but he's not necessarily a bad man. And I'm going to put him, and I did, in a position where in book 1, Jim, he loses his loved ones, and there's nothing he can do about it. He's overseas on a mission. He's wounded. He's captured. He's put in a foreign prison camp. And during that time, his family members are murdered. There was nothing he could do, although he always feels as if he had been home, he could have saved their lives. It would have been different. He would have made a difference. Whether that's logical or not doesn't matter. It's what's inside of him. But now, years later, this man hidden away, virtually no contact with society, on the outer edge of the very world he lives in, is going to be put in a position where he can save lives. He can make a difference. He can do for other people what was never done for him, but he has to risk exposing himself to do so. And again, if we remember, this is not a man who was overtly, blatantly evil. Circumstances being as they were, he crossed over boundaries he never would have crossed.
Yeah, it's a man about whom you could say something rather strange, I think, namely that he was forced to be a serial killer by the circumstances around him. It was the only response that he could have.
The only response he knew, the only avenue he saw. People have asked me, Jim, since I am an attorney, is it ever justifiable for a man to kill in revenge, as Kent Taylor does? And I've always said, justifiable? No. Understandable? Yes.
Yeah.
I think there's something inside every one of us that says he was pushed to the brink. What would I do if I were in that circumstance? In fact, I put that very onus on the FBI agent, special agent, who initially was searching for him. He's got those same inner thoughts, even as a law and order man. What would I do if I was in that same position?
He's one of the most interesting FBI men that I've read about lately. And his name in the book is, where is it? Bill Gladding.
Yes, correct. Bill Gladding.
And he's interesting because, as you say, he has some of the same inclinations, some of the same ways about him as the main character, Ken Taylor, also, we must say, known as Ronald Lane Woodruff, and still again later as
Jonathan Nova.
Jonathan, yes. So he's he is quite a guy. The one thing that really intrigued me as I read the book was how the character it was called the Night Shadow Killer. This is the individual that brings Taylor out of retirement. The way he enters the various places in order to kill people without being discovered. You need to talk a little bit more about that, and we'll do that in just a minute or so.
You're listening to Conversations on the Coast with Jim Foster. Follow us on Twitter at Jim Foster COC, or send an email to jimfostercoc@gmail.com.
Nowhere Out. That's the title of the novel we're talking about today, and we're talking about its author, Vincent J. Sachar, and it's published by, how do you say that, Devant?
Devant, yeah.
Oh, Devant Publishers. There is this assassin guy who kind of fascinates me. We call him Night Shadow Killer. And one of the things about him that fascinates me, and I'd like you to talk about it, is that he goes out to kill somebody. He goes to their house or place of business or wherever they are located at the moment, and you go into a full description of the kind of security that this upcoming victim has. And in every case, the assassin gets into the house, the restaurant, whatever, and kills the guy without a trace. Where does that come from?
Well, again, he's special forces, highly trained, coming out of Russia. So he's got that background himself. Mm-hmm. He's extremely prepared. He studies everything. He goes to that location. He knows the different systems, the different security systems. You know, we're creating there a man who is a perfectionist in the work he does. He considers it an art and himself a genius. And obviously he's that highly skilled. So the emphasis there was to create a character who has the skills that Kent Taylor, now known as Ron Woodruff, but that Kent Taylor displayed 14 years earlier as a killer, as a serial killer. But Kent Taylor didn't have the ego, he didn't have the love of killing that this man has. And basically what we've done is fictitiously create someone who's the best of the best at what they do. You know, there's people today that will take a lock on a door and say it doesn't matter how you bolt it, how you put it, these people can get into it within X many seconds. They're that skilled. Or they know this, they know that. And we tried to create there a man who is not just anxious to kill and skilled at killing. He's skilled at everything else related to it, and he does his homework.
The Night Shadow Killer is so good at what he does, is breaking in and killing people, that it makes our friend, the FBI agent, feel that Taylor is back on the job.
Yes,
And
Yes, that's correct.
and tell us a little bit about the FBI guy, Bill Gladding.
Bill Gladding is again, he's a decorated, legendary special agent. Has been with the FBI throughout his career and stayed in that position and didn't want a desk job. Loved what he did. He has a history of solving crimes, tough in what he does, that type of thing. He lives and loves his job. It cost him his marriage, although he still has a loving, strong father relationship with his daughter. He was just wedded to the FBI. He was just glued to that job. And because of that, showed the skills far beyond many other people. Interestingly enough, he's the kind of law and order man that would have killed a Kent Taylor if he had to. If he had to use lethal force, he would have. Then he encounters him, and the man is nothing like what he expected. Kent Taylor is extremely skilled, but he's not a killer. He's not someone who salivates over murdering. The Night Shadow Killer is different in that mindset, in that makeup. The skills are what make people wonder if they're the same man.
What's at risk here is an investigation that's about to begin by a blue ribbon panel, you might say, into all kinds of bad things in the government, and this Night Shadow guy is going to, I guess, annihilate the whole group.
Well, his job is to scare people away. First of all, to eliminate somebody who is going to reveal too much that will be too costly to people who are involved in the wrongdoings, government people all the way up the line, including up to the feds. So that's his job. When they know somebody's dangerous to their cause and may appear before that panel and say too much, they want that person eliminated. But at the same time, the goal is to intimidate anyone from wanting to cooperate with that commission, and therefore just curtail the efforts to dig in and find out what's going on. It started with election fraud, but they're beginning to pick up bribery that applies to government officials, federal judges, and others.
Now, in any game like this, there's something that you might call collateral damage. And the person that sticks in a reader's mind who's a victim of collateral damage in all this mess is a wonderful woman, I think, by the name of Katie Dunham. Tell us about Katie.
Katie Dunham is a local realtor who encounters Ron Woodruff. Again, remember, Ron Woodruff is Taylor.
Yes.
But nobody'd ever gone down that road. He's at a dead end, but there's one more estate beyond him that nobody's had any access to for years, ever since he's been there, 5 years and more. And she meets Ron Woodruff when she's going to sold that home, going past his home. And she affects him in ways he's not anticipating. If you read and listen to the heart of a Ron Woodruff, he honestly believes he's forfeited the right to be happy. First of all, he believes anybody he's ever close to somehow ends up dead, as happened to his loved ones previously. But then beyond that, he feels as if he never justifies that he was a revenge killer. He never says, what I did was right, noble, I had a right to do it, I'm a good man. He's just kind of a defeated, empty shell. He's lost what really mattered to him. He went out and killed. He did things using his training and skills. Remember, he was a dangerous man from day one just because of his training. We have him DevGru, or SEAL Team 6, and we have him the best of them. So he's that highly skilled, but he never used his training to kill people. He used it on behalf of his government in missions or things that he had to do. If he ever killed, and we don't highlight that, it would have been that he had to as part of a mission that he was involved in. But now, after he became a serial killer, after he was an empty shell, losing his loved ones, it's almost like he believes he's forfeited the right to be happy. And here comes a Katie Dunham, and she's impacting on him in ways he just does not expect.
She does something absolutely amazing in this book. She opens up the man, the guy, to feelings and thoughts and anticipations that he hasn't had in a long, long time.
You're exactly right. Now, remember, she went through hurt. She lost her husband in a young, early marriage to cancer. She went through a time of dealing with that, and then he dies. So she understands hurt and loss, and she sees something in Ron Woodruff that says to her, this man is good. This man is somebody special. She's drawn to him. She can look into his eyes and see, maybe we would say, the real man. One of the things, Jim, that I like to do is develop characters and reach inside of them. So that recently, I've had some people who are special forces who've read my book, and, you think, I hope you're going to like it. And they did. I've had some, who were in the Navy and some who were in different branches of the military. And I think the biggest compliment I received in that regard is when someone said, you have never been a SEAL. You do not have the military background. Yes, you could research, and I did, and learn about this and learn about the training and learn about different aspects. But you seemed to be able to capture how a Navy SEAL, for example, would feel and react. And I said, yeah, because I'm human. That I can do. I don't need a military background to imagine what if.
The other thing that I think you capture very, very well is the feelings of a woman, our friend Katie. And we're going to have you show that when we return.
You're listening to Conversations on the Coast with Jim Foster. Follow us on Twitter at JimFosterCoc or send an email to jimfostercoc@gmail.com.
Vincent J. Sachar, Vin, as he likes to be called, is the author of Nowhere Out, a novel, his second novel, and it's been out now since what, the fall, October?
The end of the 2014.
Okay, and it's doing very well sales-wise and getting some nice reviews. And we're talking to him here on Conversations on the Coast. One of the people in the book, one of the characters that fascinates me, is the leading woman, if you will, Katie Dunham. And whether a man writer can capture a woman's feelings and voice them, that's always, I think, a challenge. And I'd like, Vinny, you to show the listeners how you rose to that challenge by reading from the book, please.
Okay. And what I'm going to read from is when Katie is talking to the FBI agent Gladding and wanting to pursue the subject of Ron Woodruff, who is Kent Taylor.
Yeah, who the hell is he?
She said, I need to know whether you know this man, Katie continued. I need to know whether you believe that a man such as this walked away from me and the love we shared because he believed that I would be better off without him, better off despite his love for me. I want you to tell me that you believe that I am better off without him. Tell me that he is a man from whom I need to stay away. Tell me that I should forget I ever came to know him. Tell me he's dangerous. Tell me that he deceived me into thinking he is someone to whom I can entrust myself. I want you to tell me that I should close the door to my heart and seal it forever. Tell me that I must find a way, if it is even possible to do so, to move on with my life without him. Can you tell me these things, sir? Is that the advice you would render, Special Agent Gladding? Gladding sat with Katie in the hospital cafeteria for a long time. He had made a determination then and there as to how far he would let this conversation with Katie progress. It was then that Bill Gladding made the decision that he would reveal the true identity of Ronald Lane Woodruff to Katie Dunham.
You see, that's what you do there, I think, is so on that this is the way women think. They develop questions and they hammer away, and they're not satisfied with one-word answers, and they're not satisfied with having the opportunity to ask just one question. So it's very, very well done, in my opinion.
When it comes to women, Jim, I met my wife when I was 17 years old on the campus of Loyola University in New Orleans, where I had gone to from New York. And we've been together ever since. So, I've learned a lot about women. And she is actually the person who first reads my manuscripts. And when I say edits, to be honest with you, my spelling, my grammar, it's strong. I'm good. But someone else's perspective of what does this mean? Or does your reader know this? Or where did this come from? It's so helpful to me. And I was thrilled to find out that Mark Twain's wife, Olivia, or Livy, they called her, did the same thing for him. For 34 years, she read his manuscripts and critiqued and worked with him that way. So I have a woman in my life that I'm very close to and is very special to me, and maybe that helps too.
I'm sure it does. One of the things that you say about your own writing is that my writing style could be described as I see what I write. Yes. Can you explain that a little bit, please?
I'm there. I mean, I have had so many people tell me your books sound like movies. They ought to be a movie. I can see the scenes. I'm there, and I think it's because when I write, I visualize what I'm writing. I am at that scene. I can almost see the facial features of the speaker. That's how I write. So I'm very visualized when I do it. I try to put myself inside the book, inside what I'm writing.
That's a gift. Congratulations and God bless. That's wonderful. One of the other things that I guess emerged in an interview with someone else was a discussion of something that you call the why born. Now, it's hooked up with something Mark Twain said, why born?
It is. Yes. In fact, my website, which is vincentsachar.com, I call it Why Born Creations. There's a Mark Twain quote where he says, the two greatest days in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why. and I call them why borns. And, Jim, all my life I wanted to write. I did write. I never did anything with it, but I had these little writings, even in elementary school. I think it's a why born. It's something that's always been in me. And there's a Chinese proverb that says the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is now. Well, I missed my 20 years ago, but I think I found my now. I reached in and said, you know what? I've always wanted to do this. It's a why born. It's part of me. And what I think I was intended to do. It doesn't mean anything else I've done in my career has been wrong or a failure, not at all. But it's something inside of me, and I reached in and started to touch it. And when I did, I found just a joy and an exuberance, almost a giddiness when I write. I have the third book in this series already going. I'll take my time with it and release it sometime this coming
Wait a minute. What about a title? Can we sneak out a title of book 3? Well, or don't we know yet?
Right now, yeah, the title would be Nowhere on Earth.
Well, that's very, very good news as far as I'm concerned, because this is a book, a story that deserves to be extended on. And that's what you're going to do, and that makes me happy. This is Vincent J. Sachar, who's been with us this day on Conversations on the Coast to talk about his current latest novel called Nowhere Out. Go and find it at your bookstore now. This has been Conversations on the Coast, and I'm Jim Foster.
Follow us on Twitter at Jim Foster COC, or send an email to jimfostercoc@gmail.com.